Welcome, welcome. Told you I would be back tonight. And we have a very good topic. And my good Judy is going to join me. One of my good Judys. Hi, Pressure. Cooker, if you're in the room, or when you come back in the room, you are welcome to join this panel. I think you'll be a dynamite guest as well, so you can come on down. Thank you, Queen. So we're going to wait for some people to come, and then I'm waiting for my good Judy to join me. I don't know if you heard, but my invitation is open. Hey, CJ. Hey, Pat. Thank you for the comment. I love it, Pat. I love your engagement. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's important to me. Yeah. Tonight should be a good one. I'm going to have my good Judy join me. One of my good Judys. This topic should be very good. The need to belong and to be loved and to be accepted. So I'm going to, hey, Benj. There's another one of my gemologists along with Queen Diva. So I think I might have enough time to drop the link after we chat a little bit about it. It's just a candid conversation about needing to belong and whether it's in a good form or a bad form, negative or positive, just the need to belong. So this should be a good one. Mature content only, absolutely, Benj, and we should knock this one out to park. And Benj, I think you're gonna like it, because listen to the conversation, just the conversation with my good friend and I. I'm waiting for her to come in and some more people to come on. Hello, Phoenix Rising. Thanks for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to drop the link when she come on, and we're going to have a candid conversation about needing to belong. Yeah. It's just human nature for us to want to be loved and want to be needed and to belong to somebody or something. It's human nature. So, and there's my producer. Hello. How are you? Thank you. So, hello. Welcome to our show. Hey, I know, sweetheart. Thank you, Captivating. I think tonight is your night, too. So, I'll catch the replay of your show as well. But thank you for popping in, showing your support. Hello, Keisha. How are you? You driving? Okay, producer. I hear you driving. So, I'm waiting for my good friend because I was conversing with her earlier, and we was talking about the need to belong, and some things I just couldn't understand. So through our conversation, she helped me to remember that those are just basic needs of ours, wanting to belong, wanting to be loved, and it starts from birth, to be honest with you. Why do we feel the need to belong to something and someone? So I went back and I said, that's Maslow hierarchy. I said, yeah, that's the physiological makeup of us. We have to belong. We need that love. We need that approval. And it starts at an early age. It starts at an early age into our adulthood. A child always wants to be needed, want to be accepted. Adults the same way. So now it helps me understand when I start thinking, well, that's the hierarchy of needs. We have to feel that way. Then she was telling me in relationships to family, to relationships in general, and to peers, childhood, peer pressure. And we tied it in with the COVID-19. Why we see some type of behaviors from different people is because of the boredom and because they confined, they need that acceptance and to belong somewhere. So then the behavior changes. So sometimes it could be increase. She brought it to my attention. It could be increase in smoking, drinking, what they call recreational drugs. It leads to suicide. And I think we do have an increased rate of suicide. So I'm not sure. We don't have the statistics here. I don't have the statistics here. But I think at one time, Benj and I had spoke about that as well. With the COVID-19, people feel a lot of pressure. People feel to need to belong to someone, and they belong to something, and the attention, it doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive, as long as they feel that connection, as long as they meet that need, it doesn't matter. And so when she jump on here, hey Nisi Pooh, I see you caught me. So when she jump on here, then we're going to take off with it. And I also invited Pressure Cooker, because Pressure's good. Hey, no patience. Pressure Cooker, I believe this is her field, her professional field, so she could jump in if she would like. I invited her. If she come back and she would like to join, I'm going to drop the link. But I want us to think about it. Why do we see some type of behaviors in the real world and in the virtual world when it comes to acceptance? Why do we have to be accepted? I say this quite often, that I don't need anyone to validate me, because I validate myself. But then as I think about it, maybe perhaps I do, because that's part of me being accepted and being loved, whether it's by my mate, my family, my co-workers, my peers in general. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm excited. Hello, One Proud Glamour. How are you? Binge. So, I'm waiting for Dr. Katrina Pope to come on. I'm waiting for my friend. She's going to come in here, and then I will drop the link. I always say we are packed animals. God didn't make us to live alone. And that's true, Pat. And the more I think about it, and we talked about this earlier, no man is an island by himself. So I'm beginning to understand that more. And I'm beginning to understand some of these people in general that I say, oh, I don't understand them. Well, when I thought about it today, and then I took it back to my school and my education, that Maslow, we are human. We need this in order to survive. And when people don't get this, some people resort to suicide. That's one of them. That's one of the ways out, from peer pressure. When you don't feel like you don't belong, some people just don't see the need to exist. And I can see that, because that's a human nature, and that's a need for us. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So when you think about how young people get peer pressured, you got other people who have pressure about being themselves in society. That's pressure from them. They need to belong, so they turn to other things. Some people turn to drugs, alcohol. Some, like I said, commit suicide. All type of things happen. So now it helps me understand some people. Why do people have to be in cliques and gangs and cults, and they need a lot of friends? Why they need friends? Because a lot of times, first of all, it's the human nature. And then secondly, because something is missing, and those people fill their voids. Whatever missing, I believe they fill the void by having people around them to be accepted and to be loved. And it's important for everyone to be loved. So I'm not negating the fact that we all need love, and it doesn't matter. But my struggle was with attention. Negative or positive attention, but then I look at it, attention is attention, and it's filling a void, and a void that is much needed, believe it or not. We all want some type of attention. We all want to be loved. We all want to belong to somebody or something. And sometimes when we make decisions to be loved by the wrong people, as far as perhaps cults or gangs or abusive people, is because they meeting some type of need. And that's what we need as human beings, for those needs to be met. So it's good or bad. And that's just reality. So I was trying to figure it out. But now I think by her and I conversing today, and it makes me understand, and it takes me way back to my education, my schooling. We need that. I need my family to love me. So I do things for them to approve of me as a mother, a wife, a sister, a brother, anybody. You know what I mean? A sister, a aunt, a cousin. I need that approval. That's just who we are. That's just how we built. We were made that way. So a need that probably wasn't met as a child. And you are absolutely right, Keisha. We're going to talk about childhood too, how the peer pressure, when you are different, how the peer pressure could get to you, that you may join a gang, or you may go with someone who abuses you. Even young people get abused. In young relationships, there's a form of abuse sometimes. And just because you need that and you lack that, you accept people mistreating you because you're looking for some type of acceptance, some type of love, some type of connection. And everybody don't get that. Everyone is not strong enough to say, well, to hell with it. I don't need them if they go mistreat me, because they looking for some type of acceptance from people. And that's a fact. And that's how we made. That's just the human nature in us. So I get it. And the more I thought about it and the more we conversed about it, I was like, wow, she was hitting points like, even in your family, with your kids, you want to be accepted, you want to be loved. So you do extra for them, or you do things. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Even with your husband or your wife or whomever, you do extra because you want to be accepted by them. So now we see, sometimes, I guess it's easier for me to see people behaviors. It's easier for me to understand people behaviors when I say I can't fathom, the behavior that you see even out in society in real life versus this virtual world. Now I get it. Now I see. It's a little clearer now. And now I can accept and not so much judge, but I can accept without judgment. I know, right? Sounds kind of crazy, but no, it's easier for you to accept someone without judging them when you see they are just simply meeting a need. It's just that simple. They need that attention. They need that love. And if you have really low self-esteem, hold on, please. Hold on. Excuse me, I didn't even see my friend in here. There you go, bestie. I didn't even see her come in, so she's here. So once she come on, but you need that. So now it's easier for you to understand people, and it's easier for me to understand what's going on in this virtual world that I have joined. Because people are people. You just let them be people and you don't worry about it. Hey, Duchess, what's going on, baby? Slim too. It's human nature to want to be loved. Exactly. We just want to be loved. I dropped the link for you, Dr. Katt. You could just hit on that link like we practiced earlier. And so, yeah. And so it's just human nature. And so now I get it. So now you can understand some things a little more. It takes someone to make you see some things you don't see, or you're not. Basically, I wasn't trying to see. I just was thinking it is what it is. But now that she told me, and we conversed about it, I get it. And then like I said, I went back. So Please make sure you thumbs up the video. Here's my girl.
Hey.
Hey, this is my friend, my good friend, Dr. Katrina Polk. So,
Hey. Hey,
hey,
Big
baby.
Ange. How are you, Big Ange?
I'm doing well, Victoria. I'm doing well, Victoria. So, I'm doing well. Well, Kat, I'm gonna call you Kat, or
Yeah,
would
you
you like
better.
to?
You better.
Yeah, I
You
know we're
better.
not gonna do the Victorian
I
answer.
love you,
So, Kat, I was just going over a little bit about the things that we was conversing earlier. So, I like to jump in this conversation in reference to uh, the the need to belong and to love.
Mm.
Because today you made me see some things that, not that I didn't know, but I wasn't so clear on it until
Okay.
we went back. We was going back and forth. So let's talk about. Tell me a little bit about you first.
Well, it's hard to talk about yourself, but I am a doctor of gerontology. I work in the field of aging development. So I look at the lifespan of living and how to build infrastructure, how to look at age-friendly type of cities and programs and try to make, an all-inclusive economy for people to live, not just today, but in the future. So I study trends and prediction and make predictions about what is what's come to come, especially in this world, in this time we're living now. We really have to look at the choices we're making so that we could be focused on what we're leaving for our young folks and how we want to continue to live. And right now, this election is important, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, we'll tap on that a little. Well, what I like about this is because you're my balance.
Okay.
We was talking today, and I was looking at it from the young aspect, and you were looking at it from the old aspect. And when I say about that, I was looking more at at the younger age. When we was conversing earlier, we was talking about the younger age, and then you said, well, it's even more prominent in adults and seniors. So
Oh
tell me a
yeah.
little bit about that need to
Need to
belong.
belong. Well, I guess earlier when we were having our discussion, I didn't really hone in on one of the things that I think is controversial about belonging. You have healthy connections, and then you have those where you try to fit in. And I think a lot of time, whether you're young or you're old, I believe that there's a situation where you want to fit in, especially as when you don't have supports in your life. And fitting in is really about you want to be able to, you want to live up to what other people think about you. And we get so focused on that we're like, okay, we don't even know that belonging means that I belong here. Fitting in means I'm trying to squeeze in, I'm trying to, and you shouldn't have to do that. And healthy connections, you're just that synergy, you where you're supposed to be. And I think a lot of times in seniors, because of the limited access that sometimes their support systems or their grandkids or friends, they tend to live not in close proximity, so they gravitate to what they know, which is in their community. So then they connect to, they try to fit in, and they need to belong because in life, it's part of human relationships and experiences that we want to connect physically, spiritually, intellectually, as well as emotionally to one another, right? So that's something that we can't live without, and it's just so much of it's a blurred line of what belonging is, and I'm just fitting in. So our conversation was really good earlier, and it
Yeah,
made me.
well,
When I hopped off from talking to you, I went back and researched a little bit more because what I realized with myself is that long as I didn't and wasn't operating in my authentic piece of me, then I
authentic.
gravitate
Mhm.
towards fitting in. But when I know who I am, then I could be able to set some boundaries as to, what I will deal with, what I won't, and what's good and bad for me. And then I will have the courage to say, oh no, that's not, I'm not joining that, or I'm not going to get involved with this, because I know where I'm vulnerable at. So, and then I can make, and then with those particular pieces in play, I can then make some healthy connections.
So okay, let me make sure I got this straight. So when you say when you dealing with that need to belong, you operate in being your authentic self and
Yeah,
just trying to fit in. So
yeah, versus.
let's go into that trying to fit in. Yeah, let's go there. But let's talk about even when the children, when you're young, how you try to fit in with your
Oh
peers.
yeah. Oh
You want to be
yeah.
accepted. You want to make sure that your hair is the same. You wearing the same type of clothes. You talking the same. You acting the same. And when you don't, and when you, if your authentic self is different, then you feel pressure, and that's
Hmm.
why you are more inclined to join like cliques
Yeah.
and gangs and different things that you may not do if you weren't struggling with your authentic self versus trying to fit in.
Yeah, because part of your authentic self is you feeling worthy, right? That worthiness piece. And what
Right.
we fail to realize, I hate to use this in colloquial terms, but as you know, when we can embrace how worthy we are, then we don't have to hustle to belong and fit in, because we're always going to be hustling and trying to I guess quench that thirst and say, oh wow, this is where I belong at. But it gets so choppy in your life because you do what you need to do to get along. So that's a slippery slope into fitting
Whoa.
in.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we see like young folks, like I told you earlier, like my daughter Destiny, and when she moved to Baltimore after living in Philadelphia all her life, when she went to school in Baltimore, she was vulnerable and she wanted to fit in, and there were times where gang affiliated individuals would approach her and say, "Hey, we'll watch out for you, or we'll be there for you." But because Destiny is who she is, and you know how she is, she came home and we had a discussion about it. But I think that has to do with confidence in yourself, and having the courage to say no. That's what our families too, being able to say no. No, I can't do that. I'm setting some boundaries. I'm not doing that because I have to show me some compassion so I can be authentic and I could be able to have healthy connections. So I
So
do that.
what I gather is we tend to be yes people
Oh
just
yeah.
for approval.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Acceptance,
So so you just want to make sure that your family love you or whoever love you or you
Mhm.
accept it. So when you have that type of when your self-esteem is low,
Mhm.
you tend to become more of a victim to like gangs and cults.
Yeah,
It,
and then you get on that actual, like the hamster wheel. You get
well,
on that hamster wheel, and you're always trying to perform for people. You're trying to be, in perfection with people. You're always trying to please people. You're always trying to, be able to prove something to somebody. That's because we get stuck in that whole world of I care about what people think. And I know your personality where you at now. I don't know you for almost 10 years. Yeah, you ain't you don't do too much of that, because you know who you are.
yeah, I do. But the more that we talked about it, the more that I related with what you said, even within family,
Hmm.
co-workers, you do want to be accepted.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
So
lonely out there. It's lonely. It's a lonely, cruel, cold world. I
by
think some people
yourself.
made yeah. I think there has been some songs made about that.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing because I wonder sometimes, just in my little virtual world, versus the real world. I know how I am in the real world, but then I talk about the virtual world and I see some, activities just like out in the real world.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering why are these people so gun ho to want to join somebody? But now I see because somewhere they are lacking something that we need as humans.
Yeah, some kind of
Acceptance.
support. Well,
Some
like
type
I said, support in those areas of emotionally, physically,
I
intellectually,
like that.
or spiritually. Somebody we're lacking something somewhere. And even as a kid, as a child, when we're within our, the beginning of the lifespan, we start having these voids early. And then I remember this guy told me, he was like, "Ah, yeah, my dad always used to tell me boys don't cry." So he went through a period of not trying. He thought being a man was not crying, and
Mhm.
and so it promoted a void, and he felt like he had to, everybody around him or he had to be connected with
Mhm.
had to, had to have that same mantra, and it caused a disconnect and fragment your thinking, but and when you're young you don't think about it. So when he got older, that's, he became, a person that always tend to be around roughnecks and all that kind of stuff. But he had it was a void needing to be filled, and
Mhm.
he had to belong, so he had to be in that type of core group. And now talking about it at 50 and 60, he's like, I wish I would have cried.
Well, yeah, and now, and when you say that, even with the young people, I mean, is a cause for concern, especially with this C-19 and stuff, and everybody
Oh
is
yeah.
quarantined, and we know there's an increase in suicide.
Oh my God, domestic
Domestic
violence,
violence.
yeah, because, and that's another thing, right? People will now discover that they got married because they wanted to belong to a particular group. Like, oh, we're married, and I got the married thing going on. Versus now they're forced to be home with their families, and they realize they don't even like each other. They were just fitting in. And so I know in Philadelphia, more specifically when I was home, that there was a increase. I mean, like double the cases at one time that were
Really?
reported in domestic violence. So
Hmm.
yeah.
And I think, I'm inclined to believe, and I really do believe that is causing great impact on people's behavior.
Oh,
Their
which one?
behavior.
Trying to belong or the COVID-19? Because they both impacted people.
Trying to belong, especially with this going on.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So they gravitate towards any type of attention. Where I
Mm.
think if we wasn't in the predicament that we in with this C-19, that perhaps people would be a little different.
Is that your code name for COVID-19?
Yeah,
C-19?
I don't, yeah, because they be flagging people channels, taking people's stuff when they start. So I
Wow.
always say C-19. So now you got it right. But
So we don't. Where's the freedom of press? I'm just saying.
there really isn't any. No.
Okay.
You know us, we know Big Brother always watching. So it's just so interesting to me. And during our conversation today, we hit that part about that love part. And
Oh.
first, you think about it, even nurturing a child.
Hmm.
We wonder why some of these people, and even dealing with us going through whatever we've gone through in our journey, if you don't have that masterpiece of love and acceptance, then children,
Hmm.
you have quite a void in your life, and you're more susceptible to just do anything and take anything, and you gravitate
Mm.
towards more negative because
Oh
you're just
yeah.
looking for that love.
Well, yeah, and you hope and you pray that love has not been distorted or mangled in a child's head to conform to something that is not love, that they construe it as love because a loved one has contributed to that, right? So we talk about molestation and all these different, kind of negative behavior or
Wow.
violent. You can violate somebody mentally and stunt their growth in terms of their
Mhm.
intellect and emotion at a young age. So therefore, when they grow older, they have these inferiority complexes. So there's a lot, when you start breaking down belonging versus fitting in. Because then people start to fit in. Because I don't want you to know what happened. I
Then.
don't want you to know what happened or have an inclination of what happened when I was 5. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to not be authentic. So as soon as you start these layers of negativity and distrust and camouflage, you lose yourself. So then you just fall for anything, and it
Mm.
destroys your concept of love. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a possibility how so many people end up in abusive
Oh
relationships these
yeah.
days because they not taught genuine love
Mm-mm.
or the right type of love. So they
Mm-mm.
just accepted any love so they could belong to someone. That's
Yeah.
deep. That's deep. but it's reality.
Yeah, it is. It is reality, and I think when people malign that understanding, it just for young folks, it can be a horrible pitfall. Like you fall, and sometimes, as you know, people they wind up being victims or victimizing when they get older because of that, and because they
Wow.
continue that cycle, right? It becomes a cycle. Because I know you was talking about when I was in the waiting room waiting for you, I heard you talking to a young lady, and you was like, "Yeah, things that happen when you're a kid, they can be detrimental, right? To who you become
Sure.
as an adult." So I
Wow.
think, yeah. And so that's why we really had to figure out who we are, and I think I shared with you earlier. I don't know if I ever told you earlier, but I remember I used to cook the spaghetti. And then my kids one day asked me, like, why you don't cook the spaghetti? I said, because I don't want to.
Mhm.
Because I had you start doing things for your kids and for everybody else that you don't want to do because you want to fit in, and then you lose yourself. So
Mhm.
I took some time for a journey here, like in the last 2 years, maybe three, up to now, to start focusing on me. And I'm like, yo, I can't do nothing for y'all. And they just was like, what? Because my mom used to me contributing to her, I'm fortunate enough to have a
Grandma.
grandmother, and I have, I'm in a sandwich generation. So I have my children, and then I have my grandchildren, I have my mom and my grandma. So I'm smack in the middle. I'm the one that worked. Everybody worked too, but
I know.
so I'm always lending a hand. And I just had to say, hold up, I'm done. I can't, because I got to show me some compassion, to be able to figure out what it is about me, because I have totally lost myself.
So
You
we
know.
lose ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Wanting to be accepted by someone else. Sometimes if we lose ourselves, and that's true.
That
Especially,
happens on jobs too, our jobs, and we sometimes we get in a place where we don't want to rock the boat, or
yeah, you don't.
and we don't want to
So
make
it's,
ourselves vulnerable. So we tuck in and we do what we need to do. And I actually come to the realization that you hired me for my expertise, and I shouldn't have to always agree with you if you want the best out of me. So good, better, and indifferent, as long as I'm respectful and actually explaining the information to you that could be critical,
mhm.
that may be controversial to you. But my job is to do that. But a lot of times people be like, "No, I ain't gonna mess up my good government job."
You're not gonna rock the boat. You're not
Yeah.
gonna. So yeah, I just, you know what? Really, this opened my eye because the word acceptance could be so deep and
Oh
so
yeah.
so huge. I mean, the magnitude of the word acceptance, wanting to belong, is huge because we do that in our everyday jobs, like you
Yeah.
said, our
Yeah.
everyday lives. We
And it's
do it
all.
on here. I
Yeah.
hope I don't say the wrong thing because I don't know if that group. I mean, to be honest with you, even with me being a social media influencer, I'm sometimes you walk on eggshells because you don't want to say or the wrong thing because you want to make sure you are accepted to a point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we find ourselves in those type of predicaments daily. And
Oh,
if you don't, you a liar.
yeah,
Because that's just part of life, right?
right.
You have to make a choice whether I'm going to be authentic or I'm not going to be authentic with this situation. But you have to look at it and analyze the cost, right? So I'm gonna figure out what's the cost analysis on this. So if I'm not going to be authentic, what am I going to lose? Because I'm gonna lose something. But if I'm authentic in the wrong place, then I can still lose something. I just pray that I want to become more authentic. And I think I'm pretty much there. I know at 50, I ain't cutting no breaks for nobody.
Wow. We cold. That's what we were going to talk about. I was going to thank you. We were talking about that earlier, and I was just going to say that that's that producer. That's my yin to my yang for the show. The
Oh, okay.
code switch. Remember we talked about
Oh
that
yeah,
earlier?
yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah,
talk about because I said it's
yeah.
important that we know how to code switch. We do.
Yeah,
So
but it get confusing after a while, because once you start, you make a clear demarcation that, hey, I'm not gonna be this person no more, and I'm gonna show up authentic. I don't like the code switch that much. I'm like, here I am. you know, and people have to be more accepting of you, right? Because you always accepting of them. But but see, it all depends on the benefactor, right? Who's getting the benefit of you, your code switching or your inability to do that. So if I don't code switch and I go to work, then whatever part I have to play at work don't get played, right? So then there's some unacceptance there. But I want to be accepted. So by myself. I mean, me and my higher authority. That's the only thing I can do at this particular point. But yeah, for 40 years I code switched. Like what?
I do it all the time. You know what, my children used to call me on it all the time. Mom, why do you act like that and talk like that? I said, because I'm in a professional environment. They said they used to hate it. I said, I'm in a professional environment and I have to code switch, you know?
Right.
And now most adults in professional environments in life period depends on the atmosphere, where you at. You
Mm-hmm.
code switch. And if you don't know how to code switch, that could present a problem for you.
Well, I hate to tell you this, Big Ange, but I hung up my cleats, my code switching cleats. I just can't code switch. I just can't do it no more. So what I do is
I'm
I'm
laughing.
not gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna nod. I don't, because I feel like I'm at a point where I have a moral integrity, higher integrity in terms of value. So now I'm like, if I know I start code switching again, I'm gonna continue that behavior. And that's a behavior I just decided I'm gonna show up in my uniqueness
Mhm.
and be who I am. And I'm professional anyway. So I'm even professional with my kids. They can't stand it. But I'm hoping it'll rub off.
I guess.
Yeah. What you say? I guess, man.
See, I know all sides of you. I love you. You my baby. You my Judy.
Well, oh yeah, I'm a Gemini, so there
Yeah,
are many
oh, yeah,
sides.
right. That's right. Yeah. But let's see what Cookie said. Let me go to the chat for a minute. Hold on.
Okay,
Hold on, Pat.
let's get some stuff to talk
Let's
about.
see. Let's see. Y'all have some questions or some input. Let's see what Cookie's one of my baby. Cookie, there are so many determining factors in the individual's personal experiences, culture, morals, and value, etc. What's right to some may not be right for others. You're absolutely
Oh
right.
yeah, oh yeah, oh
You
yeah,
are
yeah.
absolutely right. Okay, whose mom didn't speak a certain way on the phone when talking to business? I know my mom did. I know I do. I do. So
Who?
that's code switches. She just saying that's in relationship to code.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm not saying because I don't do it that you shouldn't do it. It's just that I found myself, especially in certain forums or different venues, that the more I started I kind of reverted back to the code switching.
Mhm.
I started losing myself again. And that may not be for everybody. And that's why I said I have to be my authentic self. I'm educated. I'm gorgeous. I got all that good stuff going on.
You
But
sure do. You sure do.
but no, but anyway, I'm just saying I'm a community influencer, so I'm always out and about, and I don't want to talk at people. I want to have a dialogue with them, and I don't want to care about whatever social economic level they're at or their ethnicity. I just want to have a great dialogue with them, and so that's why I just try not to do it, at all.
So you have something a little like me. This is me, and this is what you get.
Yeah,
I'm a girl.
that's how that's
Really
how you
heavier
are.
you go. But I know I'm like that, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But let's see what the producer say. I believe that code switching is more related to language than changing who you are.
Mm. Well,
Mm.
I
Well, Andrea, I can agree to disagree. Code switching is code switching, and it is related to language, but it's also related to your actions, how you act in front of people. See, we could act a certain way. Her and I could go out and act a certain way with a pair of jeans and something. But if you go into a professional atmosphere, you really act different, dress different, and you sometimes have different behavior. So I want to say we'll relate that to code switching.
I guess I can agree with that thought, but I think that like all things, there's different, I guess, adaptabilities to it or different understandings. I think that code switching has everything to do with language, but if you're
It
speaking
is.
correct English and you don't have to code switch. I'm just saying, and I think it's all about how you show up. And I'm just different in how I see code switching because I sit in
Me
boardrooms
too.
and how individuals will sit and talk and then they go out in the hallway and be a whole different person and
Mhm.
I it, what so then it confuses me. I don't know who's the real person or not. Like, is that you or that you or who are you?
Yeah, I see it.
uh,
But you know what? I see it. Now, that's one that I'm going to use my favorite little saying. I agree to disagree because I believe switching is language and behavior. I
yeah,
do.
I agree with you on that. I said,
So,
yeah, I
we
think it's both. I do.
disagree. I think it's both.
I
Right.
think it's
Because
both. I
Cookie
do.
was in corporate America like you for years, and she said the same thing, code switched in corporate America. She did it. You have
Yeah. Yeah, and I think us being people, women of color, we have to, and I guess yeah, we
let's
had,
go there.
one
Let's go
because
there.
there's so many restrictive
Let's
pieces
go
with
there.
us. We African American, and then we're a woman on top. So we talk about
Mhm.
sexism, racism, and some other
Classism.
factors. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
So I
got
can
it.
see that. But one of the things that we didn't touch on, and I was going to go back to,
Well, let's do it.
when we talk about belonging.
Okay.
You know how you run across individuals and they'll say, "Oh no, I'm all about my lonely," or "I roll by myself. I don't need anybody." And in my mind, because we know it's a human experience and it's necessary that we interact,
Hmm.
people like that scare me because you're saying you don't need to belong. And so what? So what gives you this? What I guess what is the connectivity to your spiritual, your physical, and all these different needs that we have based on Maslow hierarchy?
Hierarchy. Hmm.
How's that all related? Yeah, I mean, because when people tell me, "Oh, I don't need to be alone. I don't need to be around nobody," I
You know
just
me. You
it's
know me.
scary. I'm talking about people that say, "Oh, I don't mess with my family. I don't mess with nobody." You
Oh
know,
no.
see, so you're not alone because you have your
And
kids, you have your children, you have your grandchildren. So that's
I have
not you.
you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I have
yeah.
my sister. But you know what? I tell you, I'll tell you the truth. And I'm just realizing it. And I want to say the older I got, the more I felt the need to not be accepted, but to belong sometime. I get lonely sometime, and you feel like, wow, you need a group of girlfriends,
Oh
that
yeah.
you want to do this, or you need some. And I think the older you get, especially if your children is gone out of your home, you don't have a lot of family around, which I do. I have family, grandkids, children, everything. I think you feel more pressure in wanting to be needed.
Yeah, that can happen because I remember I'm 51 now. So when I was 49 turning 50, and you go to the doctor, then they want to give you all these assessments at 50. So one of the assessments that my doctor had me well, referred me to another doctor was a psychological. So I went to because I was an empty nester, right? So my kids had moved back to Philadelphia and I was in DC by myself. And so she thought it could be something wrong with that because I was like, I'm good. But really, I found out as time went on and I started talking to a psychologist because that was part of the assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't good. I was just fitting in, right? Because my sense of belonging had been disturbed because the things that I belonged to were no longer there. So
Mm-hmm.
I was finding like the girlfriends to fit in. If it wasn't, if I wasn't hanging out with you, then
Yeah.
So, but I found myself in some other places that I'm like, Katrina, you normally wouldn't do this, but I thought I was having a good time. But then I could feel myself going verge, like the things that felt comfortable. I start feeling like I was just kind of like sticking through it. And, I had all these different negative emotions. That's how I knew clear indication that I was just doing that to fit in. So when you become an empty nester, yeah, like you're talking about when the kids go and everybody, you
Yep.
got all these 3 bedrooms, you looking around and you actually could come home, you put something down and it's still there. That started bothering me because I was so used to it being moved, right? So, and I didn't even have I didn't slightest idea that it had impacted me that way. So, you do need people. You need to have
But
human relationship.
Cookie said, however, I never dumped myself down in order to fit in with anyone. Now, Cookie, that's how I feel. And I'm sure, and I'll let my girlfriend, but I know her, she feels the same way. Not that I ever dumped myself down, not that I felt the need to belong so bad that I gravitated towards things that weren't no good for me. And I see that quite a bit because
So,
I never felt the need
yeah,
to be
you don't
other than.
have to. I don't think you don't have to. I don't. Well, I think at work that's a different kind of environment anyway. So I'm not really code switching. It's just
Mhm,
my behavior is different. I'm not going to be in there keying up with people. Talk. In a way where it be questionable
mhm.
because I'm in a professional
Who you
setting.
are.
But I'm not really code
Who you
switching. I'm just not engaging in any extra activity. So I feel like I'm not gonna dumb myself down because I'm an intellect. I'm gonna
are.
show up how I show up.
Mhm,
But that's those people I don't eat, sleep, and have everyday relationship with them that's personal.
mhm.
So that's not code switching. It's just that that's not the environment I would show up like that anyway.
Yeah, I don't think she meant it. I think she was just meant it that no matter who we are, we don't have to dumb ourselves down.
Yeah, I agree.
No matter who we are, wherever I go, no matter who I am, I'm never going to accept some stuff that would disturb my moral concept.
Oh
My
yeah, yeah,
moral
yeah.
compass, my integrity, my values, and stuff like that. I'm never going to do that to fit in. But you have some people that will sacrifice just about anything just to fit in and to be
Hmm.
needed. And
Yeah, to feel needed. Well, no,
and
I
that's
totally
what
get
we're
it.
talking about.
Oh, I,
At one point we were saying that people almost sell their souls, do anything just to be needed, to be accepted. Sorry, to be accepted because they need that. We don't need that. Some people don't need that because they have gotten a lot what they need growing up and
yeah.
some
Well,
out in their adult life. But I think when all this said and done, there are a lot of people who have suffered from the beginning that feel
mhm.
the desire to need to belong, and they will do anything just to belong to somebody or someone.
Well, I think in general that people don't know who they are when they're young anyway, right? Because your
Mhm,
experiences have a lot to do with, in terms of determinants of who you become. So when you're young and you're more vulnerable, you're more
mhm,
susceptible to these different negative elements in your world that you have no control over.
mhm,
And as you start to matriculate life,
mhm,
you start to understand who you are. Like, oh, I don't really like that, or oh yeah, I really gravitate towards that. And that's all about, the evolution of yourself. So when you get to a certain
I
age, you're like,
agree.
oh, I totally agree with what Cookie was saying. Like, yeah, don't do not fitting in. No, we ain't doing
Yeah.
that.
So
But
there, yeah. Sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
no, 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 no. But that's
There's
all I
two
was
types
saying.
of like
So
you said.
yeah, but that's all I was saying. I'm in total agreement. But when you're young, you just don't know. You just have to, you gotta ride the wave of life.
I think again, everything is cultivated.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. And that's very important that you do teach your kids when they're young that it's okay for them to be who they are, and maybe
Hmm.
some of the pressure will come off of them that they don't feel such need to belong, that they will gravitate towards the wrong thing. It's easier for somebody to tell you they love you, oh, love you, I accept you, come on over here. But then
Hmm.
when you get over there, the treatment is much different, but
Yeah.
it's hard for you to go, you know, because you think that's love. You think
Yeah.
they accepted you. They love me. Oh, they accept me. Let me go over there and be a part of them. And then it turns out it's not like that at all. But because you had that void.
I had one of yeah, I had one of my daughters. She had moved out. I remember that she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go live with this guy," and they wound up having a kid. God bless him, my ex son-in-law. But I, when she transitioned and moved, and she realized she's like, "Yeah, this is where I belong. I got the family. I'm this, and we're feeling all cozy, and this is what life is about." And then she realized he didn't know who he was, so he was still growing. She didn't know who she was, so neither one of them was operating in their genuine self or authentic self. That when my daughter started really figuring out what she wanted to do with the rest of her life in terms of her career and start putting things in order, he actually got a little upset because that's not what he was used to. But she started, evolving. And at the end of the day, she realized that wasn't where she belonged.
Well,
So
did any abuse take place, Katt?
no, you don't know you know me. You don't know my daughter ain't taking that. But I was getting ready to say she might have abused him. I don't know, but I'm just joking. But in all seriousness, no, I don't believe so. But it was just they had a mutual separation.
Okay.
I think, but in life, you just really don't know. Like at certain ages, even though you cultivate things, for you cultivate that environment or behaviors in your surroundings, you try to control them as much as you can. But your children also will go out, and you have external factors, right? The exterior ones that with their friends, and you hoping that, like my grandma would always say, I pray that you act the same way in here that you do when you go out there. You hope that's what's happening, but not necessarily. And life happens too, so your kids have to live and learn. But I just think that for me and where I'm at, I really didn't start operating in my authentic self until maybe gradually 10 years ago. I'm like, I'm done. So when I got like 2 years ago, I just was more intentional. Like, what is it that you really want? What is it that you really like? Because after being married and having children and traveling the world, and some things, you open your eyes and you realize that, hey, I didn't know I could have this, or I didn't want that. And so that has also will help you kind of focus on where you belong. And sometimes you gotta make your own place of where you're belonging. Like, oh, I don't want to be in any of this. How about I'm just gonna make this space here, and I'll invite people in. So.
Okay. Well, let me read one more, and then we're gonna take a little break and get ready to wrap it up because we're into an hour. But we can go for hours. But before I do that, I'm going to drop the link just in case somebody want to come on. So let me read this. In corporate America, you judge on the way you look, correct, speak, dress, etc. We're not supposed to be educated or an independent thinker. Cookie, I totally agree with that. It's still a master/slave mentality. Know your place.
Girl.
Dang.
If I had, oh my God, if I had $1 for every time I was kind of confronted with that.
Yeah.
She just said, I probably have, $100,000 because I always, because you get that look with certain cohorts of people where like, oh my God, did he or she check me? Like I don't belong here, and you might be the brightest one in the room.
All the time, simply because, like she said, master slave mentality. Hold on, I'm going to run this commercial and I'll be right back. Please make sure you thumbs up the video, please. That's so important. And make sure, don't be afraid to engage. But in the meantime, don't forget to do this. Subscribe to my other channel. Hold on. Yes, don't forget to subscribe to my other channel.
Let me find out. You really doing the doggone thing.
I like it. So we're gonna wrap this up. It's been an hour,
Okay.
but I'm going to drop this link course. Perhaps I have this little bootleg co-host here doing a lot of talking. This is my buddy. She's in here. Maybe she wants to come up and say something. I don't know. I know my Cookie won't, but Cookie engages quite a bit. Cookie is a powerful woman, a prayer warrior who keeps me in check.
Oh, somebody keeps you in check. Oh my God.
Cookie
Big
does.
Ange. Let me find out, Big Ange.
Well, Cookie does. No, Cookie has been a supporter of mine for a long time. Hey, here's my producer though, and she's in living color. Hey,
Hi.
Hello, hi.
How you
Good to meet
doing?
you, Dr. Katt. I'm good.
my producer. Go ahead.
Well, when you're texting something, it's not
Do
clear.
you? Do
And
you?
that's a big part of like belonging because I really had to look at that, the code switching, because I know from where I came from to where, as I went, and I felt like I had to switch
Yeah.
how I spoke and how I behaved, meaning my body language, my mannerisms in
Right.
different places. And that was like a big part of belonging because, I feel you can maintain your sense of belonging because you have to have a strong sense of identity, who you
Authentic.
are,
Mhm.
so
Right.
that way you don't become inauthentic, if and create boundaries. I heard you talk a little bit, Dr. Katt, about boundaries. And I think that's where we run into trouble is people get caught up in these high control groups, or
Mhm.
and they don't have their own identity. It goes to and fro. And that to belong. And that's when you lose yourself. You abandon yourself when you took code switching too far. Because like I would speak like if I'm at home with my family, I'm speaking a certain way. And I remember it makes me think of President Obama. When he spoke to a group of Black audiences, he relaxed and he had a different way of speaking, but he was still Barack Obama. And
Absolutely.
another time, Alexandra Ocasio Cortez, politics is my thing.
I know it.
She was speaking, and everybody got mad at her because she was speaking a different way. Her message was the same, but she used the word, I think it was ain't. And people were like, oh my gosh. So it's
Mhm.
what we do to belong, but we can't forget who we are. We can't forget your inner core. When you know something doesn't fit with who you are, and I think that's past code switching. I think that's where you're just, like you said earlier, kind of doing whatever to fit in.
Mhm.
And we all struggle. I think it. So I had a question. All that to lead to a question. What do you think about like during the age span? You spoke a little bit about children. Um,
Mhm.
what about, and about teenagers? What about people like in their middle age where you think they would know better? They're not, they should know who they are, but you find them like bending and swaying. The belongingness, what do you think they need to get to achieve to be able to not just fall for everything and become doormats within a control group, whether at church or whatever?
Wow. Go ahead, Big Ange. I'll let you respond first.
Stop calling me Big Ange because they don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's Dobson. No, I'm just playing. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Well, let me tell you, Andre, I call her Big Ange because we used to be Mob Wives. That used to be our show. And she
Oh, okay.
always
I remember Big Ange. Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
and that's her. That
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
attributes and contributes to her personality. She's
Now
like
I can
that.
see it.
She's a
Yeah.
peacemaker. She wants everybody to get along. She wants support
Yeah.
everybody, and that's how Big Ange. So it's said in love.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said it like that, dear. Else I will call you afterwards. No, you know what I believe, Andre? That was a good question. And in fact, Dr. Katt and I spoke about that earlier. And that's why I said at our age, or say, at the maturation, we'll say at the mature age of 25 and above, why
Hmm.
would you feel the need so bad to belong that you will be in a controlled group? And she was saying, a few minutes early, and then I'll let her speak on something because you don't feel authenticated. You're not authentic, and you don't have that foundation. So you're still looking for something. You lacking something in that aspect, I believe. Go ahead, Dr. Katt.
I just, back to what I said initially, people don't know who they are yet because they're still allowing situations to change them, right? So there's a part of life that they still have to travel. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of their experiences and the wisdom come, right? Because we forgot the wisdom. We talked about wisdom earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
as they become more wiser, they'll do better. So my whole
Right.
mantra is, when you know better, do better.
Mm-hmm.
And as life go on, that's all about wisdom. But then another piece in life that I think has become a barrier is that we don't have enough, like my grandma would say, testifying. We don't have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people
Right.
sharing their testimonies of
Mm-hmm.
to help individuals matriculate through different obstacles, and when you
Mm-hmm.
don't have
Mhm.
examples,
Right.
and people are not forthright with their discussion and disclosure
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to feel
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable, then that puts us in a situation where we're not educating our youth.
Okay.
We
Mhm.
Right.
get So I think both of those two things.
So what example, just for people in the chat, what what type of things when they find when a person realizes, I really don't know who I am because they're in the sandwich generation like you spoke of, what type of things would you suggest that they do to kind of start that journey of getting?
Oh, okay.
Just a couple. I know you can't give all of it.
Girl, no, I don't mind. See, I just said we don't have enough of testimony, so I don't mind telling
Yep.
people my secret. So and it's not no secret actually. So what I did was, I just said I'm getting out the game. I'm gonna
Mhm.
sit down and I'm gonna love on me. I'm gonna set some boundaries. I'm going to actually look at this journey of life to rediscover myself. So
Okay.
I started putting more focus or being more intentional with what I was
Mhm.
connecting with. And people were like, "Oh, you can sit in your house." Yes, I can, because I
Yeah.
have to figure out who I am, because
Right.
I know I'm not showing up the way that I feel that I'm valued, that I'm seen, and that I'm heard. So those are
Right.
important things for me. So because my message was getting kind of, it was not conceptually focused or aligned with what I wanted to do. So that's what I just did. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go sit on the bench." And I'm going, and then I started journaling like every day. And
Yes, I
then,
love the journal.
and then Big Ange would tell you, I disappear on people. I just now, because I got to put a blinder on because
Right.
I'm at a point where I feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what, I like to, and we are on the same track with that. I like to, if people go on Pinterest or even Google, self-discovery questions, those are good questions that I've shared with people to kind of reconnect. What do I like? What do I
Mm,
believe? What do I value? Because people really, when you sit and you have given yourself to children and
mm,
friends and work and spouses,
Yep.
you have had to compromise to make sure everything is smooth so much that you're like, I don't really like those type of movies. I don't like that type of music.
right.
And that's what people like. I've encouraged in my sister group, like what even when, and that's why I'm pretty good when I'm talking to Mz.Teavalocity. We agree to disagree pretty much every conversation because we both have a strong sense of self. And by having that, we're able to disagree and it not be a hard time. It's not bad. So, I like that Phoenix Rising meditation. I'm trying to learn. I'm up to 7 minutes now.
That too.
So you gave some really good tips on that. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope to be able to contribute to someone's journey, because I
mhm.
had to really I had to get to the basics. I had to date myself. Like, I can't go out on
Oh
no
yeah.
date because I don't even know what to expect from somebody, because
Hmm.
I don't even know who I am. you
Wow.
know, and that's how we get into those crazy relationships. And, cause I was taking myself to the movies, watching two movies, give me a bag of popcorn, and it ain't no fat shaming because I'm there by myself. So I can eat all I want. And I started taking myself to dinner, and like people wouldn't believe me. Like my mom, she'd be in disbelief. She said, "Where you at?" I'm saying, "I'm at dinner." I'm saying, sometimes
Yeah, I know.
I was going to say that Shelly, that I would be at one of the restaurants, and you would call, and I'd be or something, and I'm like, "Come on, I'm over here."
Yeah.
And
Like, stand by yourself. She said, "Yeah, come on."
come on, yeah. So because I'm there,
Yeah.
because I started liking me. I think at some point I didn't like who I was. That's how I knew
Oh,
it was time for me to sit
oh.
down and start, because I didn't like who I am because of the code switching, the confusion in my life. I became empty. That so many things was compounded that I was like, hold up. I don't like who I am right now. Matter of fact, it got so bad I was looking at myself really in the mirror when I was, doing my hygiene in the morning. I was
Mm-hmm.
looking through myself through the mirror.
Wow, that's big. And
That's it.
we don't even recognize that we do that. That's the thing. We don't recognize it. I'm sorry.
Go. I'm sorry, sweetheart. That's deep. Go.
Yeah, because I wonder to myself, like, do people really look into their eyes? Like they say that they're happy, but their eyes aren't agreeing with them.
Mm-mm.
They have a sense, and they're, and monitoring the words that come out of your mouth. Sometimes people let it build until they do not know who they are, and they're just going along to get along. And people think, oh, you're older, you should know better. If you didn't learn it at 30, you still need to learn it. If you didn't learn
Yeah.
it at 50, you still need to learn it at 70. It's just the process. What was that, like they said that men used to do, where they go out? I mean, Native American, they used to go out, take the boys out
Oh
to,
yeah.
yeah, it's something that they call
like
it.
crossing
Um,
over.
yeah,
I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember the name, but okay, I think we know what we're, and I think and when you said that about, I've talked to Tiva about the older women are kind of breaking down on their job because these younger women are to, they're looking for something. And I think that's why people attract to Tiva on this in YouTube, because they're like, I'm not there yet, but I want to know just a little bit of where to go with it. Not
Mm-hmm.
that she's bossing them. So you're right. We do need that. Dang it. I can't remember what it's called. It's right here in my head and I can't get
But
it.
yeah, we need more
I know
testimonies.
what you're talking about.
We
I
need
Right.
know
more
what
people.
you're talking about, though.
We need
Hmm.
more people to be vulnerable to tell their stories, right? Because that's how we learn, right?
Exactly.
Our culture is a storytelling culture.
Oh
We
yeah.
know from
Rite the passage. Sorry. There it is.
well,
There it
Sorry.
is. Thank you,
Rite
Monty.
the passage. I knew. Thank you so much. That's my virtual daughter. Help.
what is it called?
Rites of
Right.
Oh,
passage.
rites of passage. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, baby.
Yeah, but we don't share our stories enough, and our culturally, that's what we've lived on, right? Before we
Totally.
had the ability to write, we
Hmm.
told my great grandparents told my their my
Hmm.
ancestors, they conversed, and they were able to tell stories that got all the way up to me
Yeah.
and the generation prior to me who were able to write stories. But we now
Hmm.
gotten to a point where we say everything private. That's private. That's
That's true.
private.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you're in situations where it's not safe to tell your story, but that's something that we have to just be courageous enough
Yes.
to, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough out of the desire to help someone, and in return we're helping ourselves. So you're absolutely
Yes.
right about those testimonies, because sometimes I want to tell someone something and I say, well, no, they might use that against me. Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, man, it kind of puts you in a trap, and then you kind of assimilate,
Well,
and you forget you and assimilate.
I'm,
Yeah.
and it's strange, but we're gonna, and producer, I wanted this interview so bad,
Hmm.
but my intentions was totally different. And Andrea had to tell me, Mz.Teavalocity, we can't do that. And I said, we can't do that. She said, no, because of the community that we in. And we
Oh,
call it
wow.
the community. We not going to say the sector, the community. And I said, you know what?
Neighborhood.
The neighborhood community we in. With
Oh,
it
wow. I
totally
don't tell me because I don't want to know.
no.
Well, yeah.
It was a dynamite story.
I bet.
I think that we could have helped, but sometimes you have to back away from some things because you don't want to induce more trauma to someone who's experiencing trauma. So we let the story go. And I said that into relations to what the producer was saying. Sometimes we want to say things and we want to bring people here because we want to actually reach out to them and probably bring them in a comfort zone, and you can't always do it, and that's the unfortunate thing, but we'll deal with that as it comes
Yeah.
because we will continue to produce shows that help people. I'm sure this right here will make people realize why they make some choices. Are they strong enough? Do they love themselves enough that they could stand on their own, that they don't have to have that desire, that strong desire to want to belong, that they would just join anything or do
Yeah.
anything. At what cost will we sacrifice who we are just to belong? But first, you said it, one of y'all said it, or the both of you said it, you have to love yourself.
Oh, yeah. Love
You
yourself. You have to love yourself.
And self-love.
And I think for so long, let me tell you, so another example, it was a woman that I respected. She's an older lady. She's an attorney. She's retired right about now. One day she said to me, and this is about making sure that you share your story with the right person, that it doesn't become debris in somebody's windstorm.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
this, I had shared something with her, and she said, "Man, you sharp. I don't get where this lack of confidence is coming from." She said, "Well, I want to have dinner with you." And I said, "Okay." So a relationship started. So I went to dinner, and she told me this is not gonna be a regular dinner. We went to Panera Bread, and she told me bring a copybook. I said, "Oh, we doing homework? Where we do that at?" So I went to the actual to meet up with her, and she said, "Let me tell you this. I want you to take." I pulled out a watch. She said, I'll give you 2 minutes. I want you to write everything you like about yourself." So I took the 2 minutes. I did that. So she said, "I'm gonna give you 1 minute, and I want you to write everything you don't like about yourself," which was less time.
mm-hmm.
So could you? I want to tell you, you got to sit down for these. The outcome was crazy because I had in 2 minutes only had 5 things I liked about myself, and in 1 minute I had 15 things I didn't like.
Wow, self-evaluation.
But see,
Yeah.
but that told me it was something going on with me,
Oh,
and if it wasn't for her, start me to think about those kind of things and sitting and spend some time with me. She said, "You don't like yourself. That's your problem. And you can't never get to know who you are and be authentic with self until you figure out why you don't even like yourself." And so I had to take some compassion for myself and self accusation and start thinking about things and say, okay, I got to focus on me. So that's how, those are the kind of stories that or examples that I've had in my life to be able to do that. So that's an exercise somebody can do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. If you could just say it again. 2 minutes, what you like.
Okay.
1 minute, what you...
Yep. So get a timer. 2 minutes. Write down the things you like about yourself, and then and then after you do that, then you go for a minute and write the things you don't like about yourself. And at the end of the day, there should be more things about you love about you like about yourself and love about yourself than it should be a shorter list. But when I started out, my list was like heavy on what I don't like and short on the things I liked about myself. And the things that I liked about myself really weren't my stuff. It was other people's angles and what they had told me about myself that I had grown to adopt. So
that inner critic is something else. We take the voices of external people as we're growing up, and it becomes our own voice. And and that's what I've said, like, whose voice is this? Like, you're always late. Well, I was late this time for the reason. But anyway, like I always heard you always late. You always running behind. And I took that as I adopted that as a part of my identity. And you have to decide like where did that come from? Meaning whose voice is that? And why are you putting it within your own identity? And so when you were going from the short list of like to the long list of dislike, when you're trying to whittle that down and increase your likes, what type of things did you do?
Well, the crazy thing is that because I can look at the list now, and I started looking at where I was at in my life at that time, that those lists was comprised of things that people had told me about me. They weren't even, that wasn't even my stuff. So that also indicated that I hadn't spent no time with me, that I was allowing myself to be judged on what other people merits and what they thought of me. And that was always, so that's where I got into that cycle of people pleasing, and you just lose yourself. So like I said, being authentic is hard, right? So that's why for me, when you talk about code switching, I look back and see how far I've come from code switching, that I try not to do it because it's a slippery slope for me. I'll be going back. I'll reverse everything I've worked for, all, in terms of improving myself. So now I guess I only go to, that's another thing. I only go to things that I want to go to. I ain't doing nothing I want to. That's
a good one too. Yeah, finding out what you want to do, what you like, and you don't go outside of it.
No, I don't.
That's good. So that's when code switching becomes, you're just a follower. You're just a, when you don't know that stuff, the boundaries.
There's a difference.
Yeah, it's a difference between that. Mm-hmm.
And people need to know fitting in versus belonging and those connections, right? So when you have healthy connections, there's no fitting in. There's a natural synergy. You're connected. You feel grounded. You feel like you belong, like I'm here. But then when you're just fitting in, you always, there's some kind of discomfort, or you're at ease, and you're like, well, what is this? So it's like turbulence, right? Because you try, so you can learn. So people, what people have told us, suck it up. Nah, this ain't my stuff to suck up. So you have to start.
Whose problem is it? I say it all the time. Okay, whose problem is this? And I'm quick to say when it's not my problem. Because, if someone says, oh, I don't like what you did. Well, if what I did was right and it aligns with me, then I think you have a problem. I'm not going to take on your problem. So I really like that you're saying this. And sometimes you need to hear it in a different language. I have my own thoughts. And then I'm hearing your language and Mz.Teavalocity's language. And, it reinforces what I, have already decided to do and who I choose to be. Like I told Mz.Teavalocity, I had a situation a week or so ago, and I had changed the way I showed up. Mm-hmm. That day, within 2 seconds, I went all the way back, and I was, and Mz.Teavalocity was like, woo. And because I just blew. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I got to rectify this, because that is not me anymore. That's the 10 years ago me. And you have to stay in control of that and take responsibility. Like, people expect other people to make them happy and make them feel good. That's why you end up in high control groups, is because you want to get the acknowledgement. You want to feel like, oh, I'm accepted. You were accepted the day you were born. I mean, before, that egg was accepted. You just have to, people may not make you feel that way, but you do have to encourage yourself.
You have to love yourself.
Encourage yourself. No matter what someone says about you, you got to repeat it with the truth. And that's how you create belonging as opposed to fitting in. Mm-hmm. And no one can really make you angry unless you have accepted what they said as truth.
Most of the time, of the time when people actually come at you in an adversarial type of way against in terms of what you believe, it's because you make them feel uncomfortable, or they don't want to accept it. So what I now look at in me and want to say, and I'm gonna drop the mic on this, I don't care what environment I am. I go into the door knowing I am enough. I'm enough.
Exactly. Good, good,
I'm
yeah.
enough. So, and it was so
Mm-hmm.
for so many years, I guess writing those lists and all that and not knowing who I was and people pleasing, like I said, I didn't think I was enough. So that's why I was conforming to all that junk. Now I don't
Yeah.
conform. That's why I say I only go where I'm invited and I feel comfortable. I only take work assignments that I feel like I can be able to exhibit my passion and demonstrate my great work. I will only work with people that we may not totally line up, but we have to be focused on the same
Mm-hmm.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we may not, we may have some differences, but our major core thing needs to be concept has to be
In
connected.
alignment.
But any other time I'm showing up, I am enough. I don't care if it's a personal relationship, somebody trying to date me and trying to make me feel bad about myself, or a job decide that they don't want to work with
Mm-hmm.
me, and I don't care. I'm enough. I am enough, and
Yeah.
I love myself today. So that's
That's
why I can.
key.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
you just gave an awesome
that's
testimony.
the key. You love yourself. That is the key, to love yourself and know that you're enough. And to me, they accept you or they don't.
That's right. But
And it is,
she
you
like
know,
that. She like that.
she'll
That's how
tell you that's my friend.
that's
It's normally like that. It's no bending for me sometimes.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
But I'm learning to do better.
Damn,
I'm
so how long
learning.
we known each other? About 12 years now? I don't know. But
You know,
you right, you don't bend. She don't bend
well,
too much.
that's not part of this show. So, with that being said, because she's
Wait,
actually just,
hold on. You know me with the gems. She just said another exercise in what she's
oh,
speaking. You know, I'm always looking
oh
through
no,
for
go ahead.
twin
I
things.
thought it was about me. Go
Um,
ahead.
oh well, no, because I don't feel like getting fussed at. But anyway, you said at one point you said it was kind of like you created a manifesto. I will not
Yeah.
do this. I will not do that. And that's what we need to do as well, as create that manifesto of this is my direction, how I'm taking my life. I
Mm-hmm.
will not sit in places that I feel uncomfortable. I
Right.
will not participate in whatever. And we all have to create that. And sometimes we keep stuff in our mind, but all, it's something in the exercise of writing that stuff down. And no one has to see it but you.
That's right.
It's such a brain, not trick, but it's a brain conditioning that we do by writing it down and saying, this is what I'm doing. This is what I like to focus on what I am doing and assume that I am not, but however you got to do it. And I like that I heard you say that. So that's another exercise that you could probably, that people could
Yeah.
probably get from you.
Incorporate, yeah. You
Well,
know, Cookie said it though. Brutal honesty with yourself.
mm-hmm.
Recognizing and acknowledging the areas that needs improvement. And that is very, very important. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning every day, you guys, for real, from talking, from conversing with you all, doing this show, and just in general. And sometimes you make me think, like I said, conversing with my friend today made me think
Mm-hmm.
more in depth and realize that sometimes, like Andrea, you always tell me, look at the person's behavior and not them. Made me realize that a lot of people just need to belong and they need that love. And so that's what I have to accept. That's what they're looking for, where I'm not there because I feel as though I have it. I'm
Yeah.
solid in who I am. So, yeah.
Yeah. But and then as you were
Thank
speaking,
you.
I just thought about like how when we start, I hate to say the word, but being untruthful, right? We start telling lies, right? So a
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
person that will lie to themselves and say that they're okay and try to fit in, because all that is a actual lie, right? Because you're trying to conform to something that you're not. What we realize is that we start creating this false world we live in, right? And so
Absolutely.
we live in a false
Absolutely.
world and everything, and for me, I guess when you continuously trying to get away from old habits, which is promoting lies about who you are because you don't know who you are, but you're trying to manifest something. And this world, that this fantasy world, you start realizing you don't want to go back down that way. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So I don't want to know. We will always. I know a young lady put it up there. I think her name was Phoenix Rising. That it's a constant, it's daily that we try to improve ourselves. We're always going to be what's that, a work in progress, because the simple fact that the man that was the perfect man, he died on the cross for us because we was imperfect, right? So we still imperfect. So so it's an ongoing struggle. That's why it's almost like I can't be around certain things because I'm scared. My grandmother used to say, I'm a backslide.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I felt like, I backslid. Yeah,
I'm a backslide, but I do though. I do. So
yeah, we're not perfect. No one's perfect.
No.
Well, Mz.Teavalocity, I know that we're over an hour, and so I just really enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Katt, and I wrote down in this time that we spoke, I wrote down so many ideas. So Miss T will probably be asking you to come back because that's the thing. I'm all about giving people tools, to get to the next level, and then also sharpen my own. And you've done that for us today. And thank you so much for coming.
Great.
I'm gonna drop back down in the chat if there's nothing else you need.
And that is the producer of my show, Katt.
Well, kudos to Andrea. Is that her name, Andrea? I like her, girl. Where you got her from? She was a steal. You got her.
No. God equips you. He equipped me with with Binge Thinker, with Redbone, with Queen Diva, and Cookie, and the rest of my subs who adore me. And I respect, they love me. I respect them. God equipped me with these people. He did.
Okay.
I'm going to send these beautiful people to you. And I admire her.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your day and your actual audience. Thank them for all the great questions. And
I thank you too for telling them Big Ann and Victoria.
That's right, Victoria. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, okay, Big Ann.
Thank you for telling them that.
Yeah. You're a sweetheart, though. I know you could. Yeah.
I know it's all love, and you helped me today, really. And I thank God for these topics, because I tell people constantly, or on several occasions, when I drop gems, I'm helping myself as well. I'm dropping gems into my own spirit, and I'm pouring out to you because the gems was dropped into my spirit. I'm pouring it out to my audience.
Well, that's a good way to be, because one of my principles is the fact that whatever I'm actually divulging or conversing on that topic is more for me probably than you.
I told them that all the time.
I gotta keep myself together, and it's hard. It's hard out here in these streets.
It's hard out here in these streets. Actually, I'm helping me, and I have gained quite a bit by doing this show, because it has helped me. Okay. This show could be therapeutic.
Oh yeah.
Getting ready to storm outside or something. We in the same area. Is it storming outside, Katt?
I don't know what area you are in.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I love
you. It's not storming outside.
Something is happening. Well, electricity keep popping. So.
It's getting ready to. Something's going to happen. I know. It's actually been predicted that we have a thunderstorm this evening.
Something is going on. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I would hope that the gems that we dropped today will help someone, or has helped someone, understand who they really are. And if they don't know who they really are, and they have that strong desire to belong to something or to be accepted and they're going in the wrong direction, sit back and reassess, reevaluate yourself. Do the exercise that Dr. Katt had recommended or in the course of the conversation stated. Do that. It's important that you love yourself so much that you don't allow somebody to take your identity or to make you feel any type of way. And a lot of times we lose our identity when we don't know who we are. We become someone else for someone else. That's a fact.
Amen.
So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. Of course, I'm about to call you. I love you, love you, love you, my friend. Please, I need to stop by and get my other glasses that I left.
Thank you so much. Have
in the meantime, do you know how to get off my beautiful sister?
I'm just going to close the whole link out. So
nope, I'm going to kick you off and you could go in the chat. I'm going to kick you out.
Okay.
There you go. Kick guest out. So with that being said, thank you so much. I'm going to read some of these comments before I get out of here. I super duper appreciate it, Dr. Katt. Thank you so much, my virtual daughter, Miss Monty. Andrea, check your email. Will do. Andrea, thanks to Mz.Teavalocity and Dr. Katrina Polk for the gems deposited today. You welcome. Excellent. Thank you, Phoenix Rising. Thank you, Cookie. I appreciate when you ladies and gentlemen come in here and engage. It's important to engage to stimulate myself and the audience that I am speaking to. And a lot of times you guys help me get through this live. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And with that being said, let's get ready to get out of here. Make sure you thumbs up the video, you guys. It doesn't take much. Just thumbs it up. If you see your king's crown crooked, help him straighten it up. If you see your queen's crown crooked, help her straighten it up. Speak life and wisdom into your princes and princesses. They are our joint heirs, our future. We're riding on them, believe it or not. Make sure you be a blessing and not a bother. It doesn't take much to bless someone. Okay? A simple cup of coffee. Can I open that door for you? You look nice today. Can I buy that sandwich for you? Can I pick up those groceries? Anything could be a blessing. You never know where someone is at mentally. And just your hi, beautiful, may make their day. You never know. So with that being said, thank you, Reese. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining me. Queen Diva, my gemologist, as always, my producer. Without y'all, it wouldn't be no me. I greatly appreciate it. Exercise will be done. Thank you, my virtual daughter, Miss Monty. What, my Duchess? 1 whole minute. Duchess, you said you didn't belong. Cookie, as always, thank you, sweetheart. Yes, it was very thought-provoking. We have to do work. We do have to do work on ourselves before we can even help someone. But that love thing is so, so important. With that being said, good night. You guys stay safe.